What is it you wanted me to reconcile myself to? I was born here almost 60 years ago. I'm not going to live another 60 years. You always told me it takes time. It has taken my father's time, my mother's time, my uncle's time, my brother's and my sister's time, my nieces and my nephew's time. How much time do you want for your progress?
I used to think of progress as a train, this beacon of power, steadfast on a predetermined path forward, and no matter if it's uphill or downhill, it chugs along, forcing the cars that try to cut through its path to stop and acknowledge its purpose. Now I've lived long enough to know that's not the case. Time, for all of us, is this finite resource, and we aren't actually promised a specific amount of it either. So I want to explore what James Baldwin is talking about and show you the amount of time it's taken for us to get to whatever this year is. And I'm not even gonna go that far back, okay? Let's start with my grandparents' time. I filmed 2 of them back in 2013. First question, when and where were you born?
Maysville, North Carolina, 1933.
I was born in Nash County, North Carolina. Born 1931, 25th of July.
For in the nation there were still 10 million unemployed on New Year's Eve.
My grandparents were born smack dab in the middle of the Great Depression. Now, arguably one of the greatest economic downturns of the modern world.
It was bad down there. We had nothing. We were on the farm working, and sometimes we didn't get nothing until Christmas. And I remember the last year we farmed that he came and bought us a crate of oranges and set them on the porch and said we didn't make no money. So that's when I decided I had to get out of there. I couldn't take it no longer.
I came up in Virginia the first part of 1950. And then I got a job with a contractor. In those days, they weren't paying no money, but a little bit, but been on it all.
So somehow they were born into that and survived all of that. But remember, we're now in 1950s Portsmouth, Virginia. It's hella segregated.
When I came up here, where we lived, right across the street was a restaurant. And the only way we could get food, you had to go around to the back, and it was a little window, and you order what you wanted through this little window. And there was a segregated hospital over at Maryview. The blacks were in one section, and the white was in another. So I had to have a C-section. I had to cut my stomach and take Johnny out.
Back then?
Yeah. And you only did it at certain hospitals. Catholic hospitals would not do it. And I made a mistake and went over there, and I almost died. I thought I had died and went to heaven. Because you know, the nuns came in, they were looking down. I said, my God, I done died and gone to heaven. Girl, I was sick.
Okay, so we've made it to the 1950s, and my grandmother has almost died in a segregated hospital trying to give birth to my uncle via C-section. Never mind the fact that even today, Black women are 2 to 3 times more likely to die from complications due to childbirth in the United States. We're just not even let's just move past that. And so keeping all of that in mind, I decided to quite literally catch up with my mom and dad.
Good morning. I'm walking with my mom. She's on a mission.
I'm trying to get my 5-mile walk in. And to get a good workout, you gotta move. You can't take a stroll. My name is Linda Ann Walker. And then when I got married, I'm now Clemens. I was born January 31st, 1958 in Portsmouth, Virginia.
My full name is Robert Lee Clement. The year I was born, January 5th, 1956. Born in Portsmouth, Virginia.
Now, at this point, I want to remind you all that my parents are in their mid-60s, so they lived through Brown versus the Board of Education, the desegregation of public schools, and the civil rights movement.
Now, we were right in the middle of it, right in the midst.
We ended up being bused to the, basically the white suburbs.
First of all, I remember I wanted to beat my dad to a pulp.
Remember, my dad's talking about this guy that lived through the Great Depression. and is still alive, by the way. He's still alive.
Where we lived there were 2 schools, totally white, within walking distance of our home. He decided, why did I bus you 16 miles to that school when you can get up every morning and walk to school? So you're going over there. I was always asked, why do you don't want to play with the other kids? Because they don't want to play with me. Bottom line.
And so you see those clips. We all know them. Black kids walking into schools and white kids along with their parents spouting hatred at them. My parents were those kids. But thusly, the white kids who are yelling hatred at them, they're somebody's parents too. They're your congressperson, potentially. They're your local police. My parents' generation is the generation that's in power right now. And I don't know how I feel about that.
They had the X, Y, and Z group. So all the students were categorized. X meant you were accelerated, so all of us were bunched into accelerated. All of us are taking the same classes, but supposedly, oh, if they're smarter or faster, let's just put them in a group so they don't get slowed down by the Y's and the Z's. So labels, bad labels.
So they decided to put me in the ungraded special ed. And they had all of us in one big room, I think about 17 of us. And they bought this Miss Griffin from up north. She's from the New York area. Would have been a special ed specialist. And she turned around and told him, he's not special ed. He's a learn by doer, but he's not special ed. There's nothing wrong with this kid. And they were like, no, he's going to special ed. And she fought for me. She said, there's nothing wrong with him. In those days, our parents were not educated, but our parents were smart. My father had a 5th grade education. He learned by doing. That's how he learned. So that's how he taught me, by doing, by showing me. By the time I left home, I could rebuild engines, rebuild cars, rewire. He taught me by doing.
I can even remember, like, when you first come into your different classrooms, I'll never forget it. It was my science class. And I remember this last white kid came in, and it was a boy, and he looked around, and you could see that look like, oh, I gotta sit with her. And so I decided to transfer back to my original high school in my neighborhood, because I think the great equalizer that they did was they started what we now know today as magnet schools. So they changed our school to a magnet school, and guess what? Now everybody wanted to come to that school. We had a daycare center for early childhood education. We had a restaurant if you wanted to work in the hospitality services. And the beginning of computers. People learned how to do key punch. I did the nursing program for vocational nursing. So you could literally go through that high school and come out with a skill where you could actually make a living wage.
So when it came time, when I got up to a certain size and certain age, I decided to come in the military. And my thoughts was, if I'm gonna get shot at, I can go in the military, I can shoot back. That was my major deal with that. They gonna shoot at me, I go in the military, I learned to shoot back. I was at first DUSTY, which is digital electronic technology. Secondly, I was cryptology, which is crypto electronic technology. Thirdly, biomedical equipment.
So, my dad joins the Air Force in 1979, marries my mom, who is now a nurse. They have my sister, and that brings us to my time. My name is Halise Clemens, married name Narvaez, and I am a digital storyteller and video producer, and I was born August 23rd, 1990 on Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. And I am the only Texan in my family. It's not their fault, they got here as fast as they could. So y'all pretty much know what happens during my time. 9/11, Barack Obama becomes the first black president of the United States. My whole family shook about it. I don't know about yours, but mine was shook.
Because I never thought I'd see one. I don't think nobody black ever thought they could see one.
When Obama got elected, I kind of felt like, geez, I'm getting a little emotional here, that part of what Dr. King was fighting for was truly that we would be judged by the content of our character and not the color of our skin, because character counts.
And who can blame them, truly? I mean, considering everything that they've lived through thus far, why would anyone think it's possible? The economic downturn of 2008, 2009 is upon us. And The studies and metrics be saying that my generation will actually not be as economically prosperous as my parents. Everything they've strived for, it's all undone. Then Trayvon Martin happens, Michael Brown happens, Tamir Rice happens, Sandra Bland happens. These people, they become household names for all the wrong reasons. And now the pandemic happens with its own health and economic effects that unequivocally affect Black and brown people more in this country. And I just can't help but wonder, what's this all for? Especially when I think about the next generation.
It's you. Yeah. 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 What'd you find? Rocks. Awesome.
Now with all these divisions and you know, he's a mixed child and that comes with its own other set of issues because everyone isn't going to be so receptive and they're going to be asking, what are you? And my thing is, I don't think he should have to choose. He should be able to embrace his African American culture, and I feel like his Hispanic culture is just as important, is just as valid, and that he shouldn't have to choose. He should just be Cedric.
I don't think this will be over, not in my lifetime and probably not in his lifetime. This is nothing new. I grew up with it. Grew up with people being hung. Grew up with people being shot. The only thing new here is that they're getting caught.
Now more than ever, I'm convinced that progress happens begrudgingly. Maybe progress isn't defined by laws, but by people. Like that woman who saw the humanity in my father and just acknowledged that he's a kinetic learner. Or maybe it's the countless people who pushed my mother forward to turn her living wage job into a fully realized career without a college degree. I don't know if my family is where it is today because of this country or in spite of it, but I do know this. We are the train, and we will continue to push and move forward, whether you get on or not. Because I don't have time to waste waiting for you. I've been here for 30 years. I hope to be granted at least another 30 more. So it is irrelevant to me to consider how much time you want for my progress. How are you progressing your community forward? Big, small? Maybe for some of you it is about getting involved in local politics and representing your community there. That's great. Maybe for some of you right now it's just about listening and beginning to do that inner work to unpack and begin to unlearn a few things about our society, our culture. If that's the case, in the description box I've included a few links that go into more detail of everything I covered in this film. And then maybe for some of you it is about your art and how you use your art to push things forward. There's no wrong way to take action. The point is that you do. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you when I see you.